School Committee meeting to order. Today is March 23rd, 2021, and we are starting our meeting tonight at 7:08 p.m. Pursuant to Governor Baker's emergency order modifying the state's open meeting law issued March 12, 2020, the March 23rd, 2021 meeting of the Peabody School Committee will be held in the library at the Higgins Middle School for school committee members, superintendent, assistant superintendent, and central office administrators as requested by the superintendent. And today we have Superintendent Dr. Josh Vidala with us, Assistant Superintendent Dr. Chris Lord, and we have the full committee here tonight. In accordance with the governor's order imposing strict limitations on the number of people that may gather in one place, the regular meeting of the Peabody School Committee will not allow in-person attendance to members of the public, but every effort will be made for the public to adequately access the meeting in real time via technological means. Alternative public access to this meeting will be provided in the following manner. We are being televised live by Peabody Access TV, Peabody TV. Real-time public participation can be addressed to the Peabody School Committee utilizing Zoom virtual meeting software for remote access. The application will allow users to view the meeting and make a comment during public participation. And as usual, during public participation time, if you are interested in speaking, please hit the button to raise your hand, and we will welcome you to the meeting at that time. Much to discuss tonight. Let's start the meeting, though, please, with if everybody could please stand for a moment of silence. Thank you, and please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. And first item, minutes. We have regular school committee meeting minutes from March 9th, 2021.
Motion to approve regular school committee meeting minutes.
You've heard the motion for approval of the March 9th, 2021 regular school committee meeting minutes. The motion was made by Mrs. Carpenter, seconded by Mr. Arnottis. Any comments? Hearing none, we'll do a roll call vote, please.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, we have a couple of bills to be approved. Mrs. Carpenter, I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you. I'd like to make a motion to approve warrant number 4721 dated March 23rd, 2021, the amount of $45,990.49, subject to audit.
Second.
Thank you for the motion for approval of warrant 4721. The motion was made by Mrs. Carpenter, seconded by Mr. Olympio. Roll call vote, please.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes. I'd like to make a motion to approve warrant number 4726 dated March 23rd, 2021, in the amount of $998,717.19, subject to audit.
Second.
Okay, you've heard the motion by Mrs. Carpenter for approval of warrant number 4726, seconded by Mr. Olympio. Roll call vote, please.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Thank you, that is all.
Great, thank you, Mrs. Carpenter. One item under continued business, Mrs. Dunn, any update on the Welch School MSBA project?
Yes, just so everyone knows, we are, as always, progressing very rapidly. We're currently in the process of obtaining a construction manager. The interviews will be scheduled and will be taking place next month. Those who were interested and have met the requirements for being able to enter in the selection process to have a walkthrough at the well. And the owner's project manager and our designer are doing a lot of due diligence on this, checking references, and the small subcommittee on the selection is working on questions for the interviewer, preparing to do those interviews. We've also been quite a few meetings with the MSBA about considering schematic design for the program. And this Thursday at 9:30, there will be a meeting of the Welch School Building Committee, and that is going to be broadcast by PATV. So if anyone is interested in watching that meeting, those lines are being published.
Thank you, Mrs. Dunn. Appreciate that report as always. Okay, we go to our superintendent's report. Dr. Vidala, I'll turn it over to you.
Mayor, if I could, I'm
Yes.
not sure if the sound is working on TV. Could we take maybe a
Yeah, let's take a couple-minute break.
Yeah, please, thank you.
I know we got a crack
They
team
can hear
working
now.
on it.
Open mic. They can hear now.
Thank you, Jim. Okay, our apologies. We were notified that we were having some audio difficulties. Some people could hear and some people could not. So we're going to take the meeting back up again, and I'd like to go back to continued business. Mrs. Dunn, if we could go to you for an update on the Welch School MSBA project, please.
Sure. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Right now, the Welch School project is moving forward. We are in the process of selecting a construction manager. The owner's project manager and the design team are doing due diligence, working to go through references and evaluate each of the applicants who qualified under criteria that we determined for this project. The interviews of those firms will take place in April. And we are also going through the process, and there have been numerous meetings about this regarding the preferred schematic design. So we've had numerous meetings with the MSBA going over the details of the project to explain the integration of our educational program with the building and with the construction going on at the building. So it's an interesting process, and we have a meeting of the Welch School Building Committee Thursday morning at 9:30 a.m. That will be broadcast by PATV, and it's an open meeting, open to the public, so anyone is invited to attend and watch that meeting.
Great. Thank you, Mrs. Dunn, as always. Appreciate the update.
You're welcome.
Now we'll go to the superintendent's report, and I did want to ask that we hold item number 1, the formative evaluation for the superintendent, to the next meeting. Just a little bit more work needs to be done on that before it can be presented, so we can hold off on that one till the next meeting. And Dr. Vidal, I'll turn it over to you.
Excellent. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So we have 3 items on the superintendent's report tonight, and the first one that I'm excited to report is that we have reached a memorandum of understanding with the union, and I'd like to turn it back over to you to say a few words.
Thank you, Dr. Vidala. Yes, at our last meeting 2 weeks ago, we reported that we had reached a tentative agreement with the teachers' union on some dates. The dates are for elementary school, full in-person learning. Students would return to full 5-day-a-week learning on March 29th, and that the high school and the middle school would start April 7th. We had to wait until there was a ratification vote by the union. There was still some little details to work out. And as Dr. Vidala said, we are very pleased to hear that the union earlier today ratified the agreement. We have a memorandum of understanding between both parties that those dates are now set in stone. That elementary school students will be going back on March 29th, and that's next Monday, and middle school and high school will be back on April 7th. Obviously great news. And I just did want to take a couple of moments. There was a great deal of hard work to make this happen. I know there was some disappointment when we originally pushed back, when we originally had the dates and we moved those back a couple of weeks. There was great disappointment from some parents, some students, some teachers, and but we felt that it was best to work with our union leadership, work with the teachers to come up with the opening that worked best for everybody. We've all been in this together. We're one city. We're trying to do the best we can under these very trying circumstances for all of us. And we wanted to work with our teachers because they're in the front lines, along with our custodians and cafeteria workers, nurses, our administrators, paraprofessionals. Everybody's just been working very hard, and we needed to get some input and work with our union leadership. And very appreciative of the hard work that our union leadership did, Mary Henry and her team, and I'm very appreciative of the work that took place on our end here. Our superintendent, Dr. Vidala, assistant superintendent, Dr. Lord, our city solicitor, Donald Kahn, the members of the school committee. In particular, I wanted to recognize our negotiating team, Brandy Carpenter, the chair, John Olympio, and Joe Amico, put in a lot of hard work to make this happen. And very pleased, we're going to be one of the earliest school systems in the state to be fully in school, all students, by April 7th, which is outstanding news. And I always think this is the best way to go, to try to reach an agreement and make that happen. And very appreciative. I think our students are going to benefit greatly by getting back in 5 days a week. We've all spoken about that in detail. A number of us have kids in the school system. I do, certainly. And this is a very welcome news. And again, I just wanted to express my appreciation and thank all of our teachers. As I've said, and a number of us have said this at different meetings, it's never been more difficult to be a teacher, and it's never been more difficult to be a member of the school committee and be an administrator. And all of us are working the very best we can to make this happen, and I'm very, very happy that we now have these firm dates and that our students are going to be back in full time. So there's some details that Dr. Vidala is certainly going to get into regarding the high school operations, and I'll turn it over to him. But again, I wanted to thank everybody for their hard work in making this happen. I think this is a proud day to get our students back. And again, we're going to be one of the earliest, I think, in the state that are going to have everybody back. So thank you to everyone. And Dr. Vidala, I'll turn it back over to you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We're extremely excited, very grateful to our teachers union for ratifying today, and the work from the committee and everyone that was involved. I think pushing it out 2 weeks was really a good move. We were able to thoughtfully plan, and over the past week and a half, our schools have been able to implement some of the protocols and test them out with half of the students in during our hybrid. So I think our schools are really ready to open up. So as you said, elementary's coming in March 29th. So on Monday, we'll welcome everyone back into full in person. And then on April 7th, our middle and high school students will be returning. And we're very excited about that. I have some more details about how the protocols and the structure will work a little bit later in the presentation. But we're really happy with this agreement, and it's a really strong agreement with details around the protocols and our mitigation strategies, our social distancing, quarantining, and then really making sure that we're enhancing, bringing in an outside professional cleaning company twice a week to really address some of that, and then some other working conditions that were really important. And we really think that this is a strong agreement that keeps our kids safe, that keeps our teachers safe, and that really gets the focus back on teaching and learning and the excitement of getting everyone back into school. So I can turn it to Ms. Carpenter if you have anything to say for the MOU, and we will have a vote as required.
Thank you. Through the chair, Dr. Vidala, Attorney Khan, I want to really thank you for working out the rest of the details. The devil's in the details, I think, in situations like this, and working out the working conditions for our staff. And I really do appreciate the work that you put into that with Attorney Khan, and the school committee did a great job, and the negotiating team, many hours on Zoom, and I do appreciate all of your hard work. I'm really excited for our students. I'm excited for our staff. I'm excited to try to get back to some normalcy, and I know that a lot of parents out there are super, super excited. So with that being said, I'd like to make a motion to move forward with the memorandum of understanding that includes our elementary going back full in person 5 days a week, March 29th, with our middle and high school returning April 7th, full 5-day in person.
Second.
Okay. Heard the motion by Mrs. Carpenter, seconded by Mr. Olympio. Roll call vote, please.
Mr. Hoffman?
Oh, I'm sorry. Before we vote on the motion, Mr. Hockman?
Yeah, no, thank you. I also wanted to thank Ms. Carpenter, Mr. Miko, Mr. Olympio, Dr. Vidala, Dr. Lord, Attorney Khan, as well as the bargaining team for Unit A for working so hard in getting this done. It's an important agreement. I think it's a fair agreement for everybody. I did want to point out a few things. High school on April 7th will be returning from 7:20 to 1:50. It will be a full day of instruction with live teachers present. Looks like there's going to be some modification of the schedule, but it'll be a full day of instruction, which is, I appreciate the hard work that went into doing that. I realize that was the most difficult piece in this. So I just wanted to wish everybody well in going back to school. I know everyone's excited, between students, parents, and staff members. I know a lot of staff members who are extremely excited about this as well. So job well done. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Hockman. Okay, thank you. Roll call vote, please.
Mr. Hoffman?
Yes.
Mr. Olympio?
Yes.
Mr. Miko?
Yes.
Carpenter?
Yes.
Mr. Dunn?
Yes.
Yes.
With that being said, Dollar is going to give us a little bit of a reopening and explain to the parents how things are going to work.
So the next item is sort of just an update on the return to full in-person learning. And the first thing that we'd like to discuss is one of the really seminal things that started this discussion was the updated guidance from the CDC. That was released on March 19th, where they reduced the physical distancing recommendations to 3 feet between students while they're in classrooms. So we are maintaining 6 feet when masks are off, or 6 feet when they're eating, but during the class, now we can bring the kids to 3 feet, which over the summer when we did our feasibility study, we said we could bring everyone back at 3 feet. And as we've done our site visits, the majority of our classrooms will be able to actually maintain 4 feet of distancing. So we're going to maximize that as best we can. The CDC guidelines also clarified the ventilation as a component of the strategies, and really the key here is to bring in as much outside air as possible. So we'll have those windows open as much as possible now that it's springtime, and the weather's getting a little better, we'll be able to do that. And as I mentioned last week, we've purchased a number of air purifiers for rooms without windows to make sure that we're continuing that circulation. The guidance also clarified the role of the community transmission, that it's not something that should prohibit schools from returning, because the mitigation strategies that we're using in the schools are able to maintain a safe environment. And then they also added some guidance around the interventions if clusters do occur. I know that was something that many people were concerned about. What if a cluster occurs? And I think the consistent message here, this bold piece at the bottom, our consistent message has always been to consult with our health department. They're the medical experts. They help us drive the decisions, and we really want to make sure that we lean on them. They've done an amazing job throughout this entire time. Each week, I like to show the community metrics. So this is the most updated metrics that I've gotten from our health department. We're always looking at the average daily cases per 100,000, the confirmed. And you'll see that from the middle of February, this was during February vacation, we're at about 31 cases per 100,000. And our most recent cases per 100,000 was 19.57, which is for the February 28th to March 13th date. And then you'll see the 7-day cases again. We've had 2 weeks below 20%. And so our last 2 weeks, we've seen on the Thursday reports from the state that we have gotten out of the red, and we're currently in the yellow phase. And so we're continuing to trend in the right direction, and we just want to make sure that we maintain those mitigation strategies and we stay vigilant with that. So some of the things that we have been doing. The elementary schools have had all of their walkthroughs done with the union. We've completed those, and we feel as though our buildings are ready. Schools have begun to implement the protocol. So as I described last week, some of our elementary schools are purchasing the plexiglass dividers for lunch. I know the McCarthy School had their cohort A yesterday and cohort B today kind of do a dry run with the new setup for the cafeteria and the new lunch, and that worked out really well. Higgins, the high school, and the Peabody Learning Academy have updated their reentry plans. So if you go onto the high school's website, for example, you'll see the full reopening plan. It'll have all of the new protocols, the arrival times, the dismissal times, and there's, at the end of that, it's a 12-page document. At the end of it, we have a sample schedule that they'll be doing. And so our elementary schools, they're ready, and they're ready to welcome our students on March 29th. We're planning on our walkthrough at the Higgins and the high school next week. And the scheduling committee at Peabody High School has produced a draft schedule. They're looking to limit the number of transitions and expand those blocks. So kids will have 4 classes per day and have longer blocks so that there'll be less transitions. And then there'll be time built in there for kids to do some credit recovery, to meet with their teachers, or to plan senior activities and do other things. So students are in good standing. We'll be able to meet with clubs and advisors towards the end of the school day. And it's really a thoughtful schedule that goes from 7:20 to 1:50. It includes lunch, and we're really excited to be able to roll that out. There's some new guidance came out this week that we're also very excited about. Things are starting to turn a corner. So EEA is the governing body for athletics, so it's youth sports as well as high school sports, and they've updated their guidelines as well. So now for indoor events, we can have up to 50% capacity. They have lifted the requirement for only 2 parents to be at sporting events, so we're able to increase those numbers, which I know our community is very excited about. So some of the things we have to follow: the capacity limits, must maintain the 6 feet of distancing and continue the mask wearing. But we are able to increase, especially for our outdoor facilities, such as our stadium, we're able to bring in upwards of 400 people. So we'll be able to bring in a number of those people. Our athletic department will be communicating to families what the expectations are. We still need to do contact tracing, so what we'll do is we'll still link every spectator to a player or a participant so that we can take attendance, and if there is a need for contact tracing, we'll be able to do that. But we're very excited about being able to increase the number of spectators at our athletic events. They also had guidance on graduation, which is also very exciting. So all commencement activities, whether they're high school or college, will need to follow the guidelines put out by the state. So it includes mask wearing and 6-foot distancing, and it limits the number of guests, but it has increased it from last year. So we were very fortunate to be able to do an August graduation last year for the class of 2020, and these guidelines now allow us to do a similar graduation, but it provides us with more guests and more flexibility. So right now we're shooting for Saturday, June 5th as a Saturday morning graduation date. We'll plan on a Friday night convocation similar to what we did last year for the class of 2020, and we'll reserve a rain date for Sunday, June 6th, but we're really shooting for that Saturday, June 5th date. Some exciting things that are going on. Our seniors, we have our seniors have a little committee of students. There's a committee of senior parents that are working on a number of different activities in addition to graduation. They're looking at a powder puff game to play maybe the juniors versus the seniors. They're going to be able to do a hypnotist activity, and they may be able to do 2 different sessions to allow for social distancing but increase the number of students that are able to attend. They're looking at a drive-in movie, a kickball tournament, senior car parade. They have different senior week activities, including college gear day and some other activities that they're doing, and then they're looking for a senior field day where they have some games and some food trucks. So really trying to bring back some of those activities and maybe spread them out and be able to celebrate the seniors for a month-long of activities rather than just a senior week, maybe spreading some of those out. So a lot of good things are happening, very excited about the next steps, and our seniors who are ready to come back to school, but they're also excited to plan these activities and really have some of those, some of those events that they really want to have that are sort of those things that you think about and experience. So it's a rite of passage. We always talk about graduation as a rite of passage, but some of these other activities are also very important for our seniors. So, and with that, I'll turn it back over to you, Mr. Mayor. That concludes the superintendent's report.
Great. Thank you, Dr. Vidala. Any questions for Dr. Vidala? Mr. Miko?
Sure, thank you. Through the chair, Dr. Vidala, thank you for the great news. Certainly welcomed. We definitely need it, and it's awesome. Quick question about athletics, road games. I've gotten some calls from parents. Are we working with the NEC here to establish some guidelines for road games?
Yes.
Attendance?
Yep. So right now, the road games, they have not allowed fans for the Northeast Conference. These guidance just came out yesterday, so we are working with our guidance, with our athletic department to see if we're able to bring in fans from outside for our games, as well as attending games outside of the city.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Miko. Any other questions for Dr. Vidala? Okay. Public participation. Anybody like to join us tonight, Dr. Vidala?
Okay, so we have 17 attendees in the room. If anyone would like to speak, please raise your hand. I'm seeing none, Mr. Mayor.
Okay. All right. We do not have any written communications today, so let's go right to subcommittee reports. Education Subcommittee.
Nothing
Mr.
to
Miko?
well, nothing to report, but there's a lot to report. So we're
Yes.
very excited to go back full-time. Thank you.
Terrific. Thank you. Finance, Mrs. Carpenter.
I think I already gave my report. I'm all
I
set.
think you did
Thanks.
too.
Yep.
You'd like to give it again? That was good news you gave.
We're going back to school.
Great. School safety.
Nothing
Mr.
to
Olympia?
report.
Athletics and wellness, Mr. Hockman. Jeez, I did it again. Mr. Arnottis.
Okay, nothing to report. Dr. Vidal covered it. Thank you.
I was 3 for 4 right there. Quality and standards, Mrs. Dunn.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. In everyone's packet, we have an updated face covering policy that was sent out by MASC. And we had a very brief meeting prior to tonight's school committee meeting of the subcommittee. And at that, we discussed the policy that we were sent. And honestly, the only change in that policy is the one that's redlined, which we had never put into our policy. That was to delineate between various grades, and here our policy covered pre-K through. Anyone attending school was required to wear a mask. So there is no need to change our policy. However, we did find a couple of things that actually probably need to be updated. We discussed this earlier with Sharon Cameron and got a great response back about the need to follow the CDC protocols. And basically that's what we've always been doing. So those are our guidelines. Things are changing rapidly, and at this time the subcommittee is not going to bring forward any changes in our current face covering policy. It completely follows the CDC requirements. There is one where we do want to stress to everyone that masks are going to be required at all times in the school other than when people are eating their lunch or during mask breaks. And all of this will be reiterated in materials that go home to parents when the school's open full-time.
Great.
So that's it. But we did want to keep you apprised of that situation and let you know. And also, I would like to thank Sharon Cameron and Brenda Wolf and the members of the health department, because honestly, they have been true partners throughout this. We would not be in as good a position as we are without their guidance and their input. They are wonderful to work with. They respond immediately to questions, and all of their information is right up to date and very well thought out and explained.
Great. Thank you, Mrs. Dunn. We do really like them. They're really good. We do. All right, parent and student advisory boards, Mrs. Dunn.
Nothing to report tonight.
Building and grounds, Mr. Hockman.
Nothing to report.
Special education parent advisory board, Mr. Olympio.
Nothing new to report.
Liaison to City Council and Legislative Delegation. Mr. Arnottis?
I have nothing to report.
All right, Redistricting Committee.
We
Mr.
did
Hockman?
meet. Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. We did meet last Monday. We continue to work through the software that I had talked about at a prior meeting, plotting students on the map, and we are going to have a live meeting on April 22. I know it's during school break, but it'll be here in the library. It'll be posted, and we'll get that recorded. I don't know if it'll be broadcast live, but it will certainly be recorded and be put on the school website at some point.
Great, thank you, Mr. Hockman. All right, new business, our next meeting is on, just want to make sure I get the date
Mr.
right.
Mayor, before we break, I'm
Yes.
sorry, just something I forgot to ask Dr. Vidala. If, Dr. Vidala, could you just give the public a brief update on transportation? I think there's some parents out there that are wondering if they missed anything. I'm sorry I didn't ask earlier.
Absolutely. So the transportation applications are live on our website under the transportation tab, and we've been able to double the capacity from when we were in the hybrid with the new guidance. So there are a number of spots available. If people still would like to apply for transportation, they can contact the transportation office.
Thank you.
So our next meeting is April 13th, 2021, 7 p.m. here at the library at the Higgins Middle School. And any motions or items on the agenda, we'll handle that in the regular course. And I just want to make sure it's reported that there's no truth to the rumor that we are changing our name from Peabody Tanners to the Peabody Falcons. It is always the Tanners. So thanks, everyone, for a great meeting, and hope everyone has a nice night. Thank you, everyone.